Earthy, and I help people with their breakups, limited beliefs, and a bunch of other stuff. But let's get into it. Today, we're going to talk to you about how to deal with emotional cheating on Instagram. So, this is actually um, a big deal right now, right? And it comes up a lot. And what people need to realize, I think, is the fact that this is new. This hasn't been in our parents' relationships. This hasn't been something maybe even for my generation. It wasn't a problem in high school or even early in college. We're looking at social media being a major part of your relationships, an issue in relationships, probably the last 10 years, and probably doubling and tripling over the last 2 or 3 years with so many people using social media. And today we're going to specifically talk about Instagram. Now, what you got to consider about Instagram is it's a platform for pictures, for attention, for short feeds, and it's commonly used that way. So if your partner, girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, or wife are on there and they're posting pictures that are provocative by your standards, bikinis, no shirt, etc., or provocative sayings, um, then you got to take that into account. So I'm going to get into it today with Breakup Tips 101. And a lot of times people will argue about this, they'll complain about it, they'll build up resentment, anger, frustration, because in this particular case, they're like, I'm just right. And what you need to consider are the things I'm going to go over today. And this is why it's really good to look at some bullet points like this or individually numbered tips, because probably you're just have one perspective like, no, it's wrong. You got some people in your DMs or you're getting likes from an ex-boyfriend. There's all kinds of different things. I'm going to get into it right now. All right. So number one, know your boundaries on it. Don't ask your friends for theirs. Okay. So a lot of people do this. They do this thing where well, my friend said this isn't right. Or my colleague at work said, that's emotional cheating and you can't accept that. Figure out what your individual limitations and boundaries are. For example, like your ex, I don't want you talking to him. I don't want you talking to her specifically because they're bad news, because that relationship only ended 6 months ago. Whatever it is, you have your own boundaries and you have discussions about those boundaries. What a lot of people do is they wait, they react. Oh, I saw that you posted XYZ. I saw that you were in a bikini again. I can't believe you do that. That's not really creating a boundary. That's complaining, that's whining, that's trying to make the other person feel guilty, and it's passive aggressive. It doesn't really work or help. Okay. So, knowing what your boundaries are, it's like, well, I don't mind if you post a picture in your bikini, but at the same time, what's your intention in doing that? Have a discussion like that. Seek to understand, not to be understood. Ask questions, don't make accusations. Give people the benefit of the doubt if they're going to be your partner. And then if they lie to you or they do something misleading, you can take the next action. The bottom line is you need to know your boundaries going in. Number two, know your partner. Are they a flirt? Have they always posted shots where they're in their bikini or is bikini even a term anymore? Or with no shirt on if it's a guy or what have you? Have they always posted these kinds of things before you were together? Because that's a lot harder to get someone to quit doing something they were already doing when they started dating you. So that's something to consider. You came into this relationship, maybe you met them seeing them on Instagram. So in that particular case, you're not going to get them to just quit something like that right away. What you want to do is, like I said earlier, understand why they're doing it. Now, if someone's selling something, which there's a lot of people selling things on their Instagram, right? Um, how does that meld with this emotional cheating thing? Where's the line between customers, advertising, marketing, and you're my girlfriend? I don't like that, right? I would say if they're in a field or an industry or a job where they're making good money or they're, dare I say, happy, and you're going, well, I don't want you to do that, and that affects their job, they're probably not going to give it up. They might say sorry, they might say they're going to work on it, but they're probably not going to give it up. And in that particular case, you might have to seek out another relationship and break up because it's just not going to go away. And the hard thing about Instagram and social media, it's recorded. So when you see something you don't like your partner liking another person's post or making a comment like, "Oh, wow, you look really good today, Sally," and you flip out, you can look at it over and over again. You can dive into that person's background, go down a ton of rabbit holes. So if you're a sensitive person on Instagram and you're really sensitive to what other people like, which to me is a bit ridiculous sometimes because if you have 1,000 followers, 2,000 followers, and you think those people really care what you do, they're just they're just looking at you as entertainment or a small moment in the day. But the reality is they don't really care as much as you think, right? So, number 3, what's their intentions on posting this stuff? Have you asked or are you assuming? Great question. So your partner's posting these things on Instagram that are bothering you or liking other people's posts. You need to ask them questions rather than assume. Hey, I saw you like so and so's post. Hey, I like this. Now, these kind of discussions can get annoying. But at the same time, you're better off asking questions than making assumptions or being extremely passive aggressive. Oh, I saw you make that post today. Not saying if you like it or not. I just know. I know what you've been up to. That's someone that's being weak. They're scared to go all the way with what they have a problem with because of the consequences. And it's an extreme turnoff, especially for women. Men will do this. It's like they're not happy about what's going on, but they're not strong enough to say, hey, I don't want you to do that. Hey, this is not okay. Hey, are you really talking to so and so at work? They're indirect, hoping to hint about what the problem is, hoping to throw a guilt net. Now, do they do it for work? So if someone's on Instagram and they're posting pictures, they're liking other people's posts, are they doing it for work? Is it a marketing and advertising thing? If that's the case, again, you can draw some boundaries on that. But if they were doing that job or that business or that entrepreneurship or whatever it is when you came into the relationship, they're probably not going to change that. They would probably resent you for doing it also. So where does that become emotional cheating if they say, well, it's for work? In the end, it's all an opinion. You can make a case that this is emotional cheating. They can make a case this is for work. Where are you going to meet halfway on the bridge? That's what relationships are about. That's the sweet spot. So if you can't meet halfway on the bridge, what are you doing? And this is one of those things. If it starts in the first 3 months or 6 months, it's probably not going away, especially if someone's extremely active on IG. It's just not gonna go away. And in that particular case, you gotta ask yourself, how much do you value likes and comments on IG? And how much are you looking for a partner that perhaps isn't that active on social media? Personally, I find it to be a very coveted quality. If you're dating someone that doesn't have any social media, it's impressive, it's a superpower. Or if they barely use it, because it will become a part of your relationship if someone's a high volume Instagram user. So if that's in the upfront thing, and later on, because I've had clients, I've had friends, they're social media addicts, there's Instagram addicts, and it doesn't bode well for long-term relationships, right? It just doesn't. Will they get number 5, will they give access to their DMs at any time? It's a great question to ask yourself. If you ask them, "Hey, let me check your DMs." Is this a good place to be in a relationship? Not really, because it means you don't trust them. At the same time, you have some suspicions, they're getting 1,000 likes, they're flirtatiously making quotes, they're wearing provocative clothes, right? Where there's smoke, there's fire. And you ask them, and they're like, "No, I would never do that." If they weren't doing anything and you asked them one time, right? They have a right to say no, number one. They have a right to explain why they're saying no. It's my privacy. It's this. If you don't trust me, they can have their reasons. On the flip side, this is where your emotional intelligence and your intuition of knowing that person, staying with them, being with them, spending time with them comes in. And in that particular case, this is where you'd say, look, I don't want to make a habit out of this. I've got a few suspicions. You've been getting a lot of likes, a lot of that. You've been on your phone a lot. And I just want to see what comes in on these DMs. Again, they can say no. They can have their reasons for no. You got to have your reasons for why. And then on the flip side, when you go through those DMs, you don't make assumptions that John, Todd, Alex, Alan, right? Matthew, whoever these guys are, that you know what their intentions are, what their relationships are. So when you see the DMs, again, seek to understand, not to be understood, ask questions. All right, who's Todd? You work together. Instead of saying, oh, I've seen this guy before. He does this, this, and ask questions. Now, if you find a bunch of DMs that can be construed 2 or 3 different ways, because like I said, there's emojis now, there's rhetoric that's I love, I like, oh, you're a sweetheart. I mean, you need to draw those lines on what it is. Now, if someone is in the DMs and they're asking them out and they're like, well, I can't control that. That's where you limit it and go, well, you're being asked out here, you're being pursued. Why do you feel like it's a good thing while we're in a relationship to make that available? Are you okay with me doing it? Now, this isn't a tit for tat situation. It's just to feel out the objective of the other individual. And by the way, if you go through the DMs or they say no, and that's a boundary for you, because that would be one of the ways some other people, oh, I would never share DMs. Oh, I would never do that. It's crossing. Fine for them. But if you both had that attitude, like, look, we can both check that, that's a lot of transparency. It's a lot of transparency and it says a lot, right? If you have nothing to hide, you're like, go ahead and look. Now, if the other person's just a private person, right? So, number 6, are you just an insecure person by nature? This is a great question to ask. Have I been jealous in past relationships? Do I just get insecure overall? These are things that are going to make it worse when dealing with Instagram, right? It's going to make it 10 times worse. So, if that's the case, you're going to have to sit down and have an Instagram and social media talk and go, look, I'm already insecure by nature. That's not going to go over well because it's not attractive. But you're actually pouring gasoline on the insecurities if you're going to deal with someone that's a high volume, highly active individual, posting pictures, doing a lot of likes, a lot of comments. It's just a minefield for someone like that. Now, someone that's completely secure, that feels good about themselves, that feels like, I don't mind if you like other posts. I don't even mind if you talk to your ex-boyfriend or girlfriend. List goes on. They're going to have less of an issue with Instagram. Also, they're going to have less of an issue with Instagram if they're not highly active on it. I'm not highly active on it. I have one for work. I have some things that I post on there, but I don't scroll. I don't go through. I don't like a lot of things, and so I wouldn't notice if I had a girlfriend on there posting a lot. That being said, I would prefer not to date someone that's highly active on it because I do think it's a minefield. I do think people are unintentionally advertising being single when they're with someone on there sometimes. And it's amazing to me how many people that are in relationships that don't, because Instagram doesn't really have a profile to say like I'm single or not single, but they don't verify that. But also they don't have a lot of pictures or anything about them and their partner on there. It's a little suspect, isn't it? Do they ever want to show your face on their IG, which is number 7? So, I mean, at some point, if they're active on Instagram, they should be proud to show that they have a girlfriend or a boyfriend. They should be proud. That doesn't mean they have to put so many pictures up there, but they should be proud, right? If they don't have any inkling of value in that, that's a bit suspicious, right? I think. Number 8, do you trust them? past the Instagram thing, past the emotional cheating, do you trust them overall? This goes back to insecurity. Do you give them the benefit of the doubt? Are you saying to yourself, I know that we have a good, strong relationship. We have good intimacy. I know this person's into me. I know they love me. I know they care about me. Do you really feel that way? If you do, it's a lot easier to deal with the Instagram junk, right? You're going to give them the benefit of the doubt. What's tough is when someone's on their phone all the time. It breeds this idea of, what are you doing on your phone? Who are you talking to? It's one thing when someone used to be on their phone and you could hear a conversation. Oh, you're talking to Sally. Oh, you're talking to your mom. When someone's on their phone, you have no idea what they're saying or what they're talking about, and they're excited. Your partner's monitoring that subconsciously, and they're wondering, who are they talking to? Now you have an open loop. Now you have this thing where you're like, I know they're talking to someone, but I don't know. Ask them, who are you talking to? Now, this is the problem. If they're a highly active person on there, there's going to be a lot of questions going on. You need to monitor that when you start dating. You need to filter for that when you start dating because that's going to be an issue for you if you're insecure, you don't trust people easily. These are not good partners for you then. If you're both on your phones, it probably won't be as tough a problem if you're discussing, oh, so and so posted this, so and so posted that. So what you have to realize, who are you in the situation? How much can you handle someone that's actively on Instagram a lot and values it a lot? It's a big deal. Number 9, what's your limit on pics, DMs, and communications with randoms? Great way to put it. So, what's your limit? So, for example, picture posting. Hey, I don't want you to post any pictures of you in provocative clothing. What does that mean? Can you detail that? Okay. No G-strings, nothing topless. Get specific. Or is it like, do you have to post everything and anything you do? Like all your meals? You know these kinds of people, right? Are you posting all these things? What's the objective with these pictures? So what's your limit on pictures? Now, this might not go over well with some people. It might seem controlling. You make your own boundaries. Because if you shut up and you're like, wow, I let them post anything. There was a guy that's a client of mine, and he had a girl he was just dating. And she was hot with 2 T's, as he said, right? Beautiful. And all her posts are like she's in a G string, she's in a bikini, she's fit, she's this, she's that. Started dating her, and he was like, she was just constantly on her phone. She even took him to a clothing store that another guy that she used to date was at to just rub it in his face that she was dating someone else. I mean, the amount of narcissism that this woman had was oozing out, right? But that's how he found her. He found her online. He found her extremely attractive. And he thought he was special. He found some diamond in the rough. Reality is really good looking people shine on Instagram and they like it. Everyone likes attention. Everyone likes positive attention. Unfortunately, for a lot of them, there's an expiration date on that called age. But you make those rules up yourself. So the DM thing, this is really difficult. This is something that, what's your limit? Hey, like you DM people from work. Hey, it's okay if you, I don't want you DM any ex-boyfriends. I don't want you DMing anyone that you've slept with in the past. That's pretty specific. Now, if they say no, that's not okay because me and John, we still talk sometimes. Me and Alice, we still talk sometimes. And we have this, that's a discussion to have, but you're allowed to dig in one way or the other with your reasons, build your case. Doesn't mean you need to agree, but it's better than being passive aggressive, which a lot of people do and go, oh, another picture you posted. Oh, I guess you're checking your DMs again. That doesn't accomplish anything. It's complaining, it's guilt net, it's pity, it's weak. Who are you talking to? Oh, I'm talking to Alex, the mechanic. Through Instagram? Yeah. But I saw you laughing. Are you guys talking about your car? Well, no, he asked me if he just asked me about like what I was gonna do for Memorial Weekend. Why is he asking you about your days off? So now you become more like a detective in some ways, but that's a lot better. And if they start getting defensive, go, look, I just want to ask some questions. And then if you sense that it's crossing the line, you're like, this guy Alex, that's your mechanic. I think he likes you. Let's just cut off the contact there. Keep his phone number for this. That's a nice fence. That's a nice boundary. Unfortunately, a lot of guys are too weak to make it because they're, well, you're not going to control me. You're not going to do this. Okay. But what are we doing here? You're entertaining a guy that's hitting on you passively, right? If you can't see that and you think that's okay, we got a problem. Okay. And like I said, at some point, if someone's extremely active on Instagram and you're extremely suspicious, you might ask, hey, let me just see your DMs. Do you want to do that all the time? Hell no. But maybe like first 5 months or 6 months to get an idea of what's good and what's not. Now, when you make your boundaries, right? When you make your boundaries, it doesn't mean they're going to agree. It doesn't mean they're going to go, yeah, this is great. Yeah, y'all do that. I'll do this. You got to stay strong because the alternative to that is you're in a relationship where you're constantly like, wow, they post a lot of pictures. I've known guys that have been in a relationship 5, 6, 7 years, and they're like, God, she's a Instagram addict. She uses it all the time. Yeah, because there's no consequence. There's no consequence. And you never put your foot down. But on the flip side, you've also accepted it. That's just something that they do. And it's a shitty relationship when someone's in it. Instagram can be an addiction, especially for people that are really good looking. It can be addicting to constantly get validated that way. And so, if you have one of those types of people and you're just constantly complaining about it, you're just going to build resentment. You're actually going to lose confidence in yourself because you're going to be like, wow, I'm with someone that actually entertains and advertises themselves to other people for attention. And that's my girlfriend. There's people that are not like this. So you need a filter for them. So what's your limit on pics, DMs, and communications with randoms? And you could even bring this up as that question. My limit on pictures is this. My limit on DMs is this. My limit on communication with randoms. So you get a random DM, like someone that's, hey, what's up? Hey, what have you been to? Is it an immediate block or is it like, oh, where are you from? What are you up to? If you're getting a lot of random communication through there, I don't think that's the best thing for your relationship. Now, number 10, ask your partner, what do you get from posting an IG? It's a great question. What do you get from it? Oh, I use it for work. Okay, that's one thing. Have that discussion. What are you getting from this? Right? All right, we got three on deck. The great Rob, Guardian of the Gate. Catherine, always a pleasure. Any thoughts on this? Any experiences with this? I know it comes up a lot. I know a lot of clients of mine complain about it. Everyone thinks they're right. And like I always tell people, it's your opinion, it's your objective, it's your prerogative how you deal with this. So don't let other people make your rules. It always makes me cringe when someone goes, oh, it's not normal, or oh, so and so told me that emotional cheating means this. What does it mean to you? What's your limits? What's your level of comfort with it? Have conversations about it. Seek to understand, not to be understood. Don't make accusations. And then if the line's crossed or something's not acceptable, you got to stand on that. There's a lot of people out there, oh, I can't believe these DMs, all this, oh, I'm going to break up with you, I'm going to do this. But they don't. So you're just like a small barking dog with no bite, with no teeth, with no consequences. Don't worry about that dog. He's just a barker, just a yapper. It's not going to do anything. You're that person. It's annoying. It's unattractive. You're better off going, hey, stop. I don't want you texting that person. I want you to get them off your Instagram. That might not land well. It might put you in a tough situation, but it's better than you caving or giving in about something you really don't like because you lose a piece of you. All right. So I pulled up this story. We'll get into it in a moment. Rob says there's also emotional cheating on TikTok. Of course. This is why social media can be counterproductive. Of course. Make everything available. That would be the right thing to do, I suppose. I mean, I've said this before. I think that there's probably going to be rehabs for social media for people in the future. I think it's the biggest problem for people in relationships now. Checking stories is big. Snapchat stories really affects people in dating. Um, and it's something new. It's only been here the last 10 years. It's not something that's been around for eons, right? Skinner, what's up? How you doing, bud? I'm back in Cali. Um, so thanks, bud. I appreciate that. So just to give you an idea, because everyone's using Chat GPT now. I typed in someone's story and then it got rewritten. So this is a new thing I'm playing with. Because there is some people when they write their story, they're like, "Hey, make sure it's not me or this, that, the other." But it's really interesting because when you write out a story in first person, it's not clean. It's not edited. It's got a different feel to it, right? But at the same time, that unpolished story is real and authentic. Whereas when you put it into Chat GPT, it cleans it up like like it's going to be put in a magazine or something. It's kind of interesting to see the difference from the other stories that are written. But let's get into it to get an idea. So it says, it's funny how something as seemingly harmless as Instagram can unravel the fabric of a relationship. I thought we were solid, but I guess I was just naive to the signs. It all started when I noticed her spending more and more time on her phone, lost in the depths of her Instagram feed. Initially, I didn't pay much heed. After all, who doesn't indulge in social media these days? I don't, not too much at least. But then came the subtle shifts in her demeanor, the guarded glances at her phone when I entered the room, the endless late night scrolling sessions that stretched into the early hours. Do you know anyone like this? The guarded glances at her phone when I entered the room. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss, so I confronted her about it, expressing my concerns and asking if everything was all right. She brushed it off, assuring me that it was just work stress getting to her. Foolishly, I chose to believe her. But then I stumbled upon the messages, the DMs from a stranger whose name I'd never heard before, filled with heart emojis and compliments that made my heart sink. So, this is one of the biggest problems. When you go into the DMs, hopefully with their permission, but a lot of times, and this is something that everyone should know. When you're in a relationship, I don't know what the percentages are. I don't know what the study would be. And if they did a study, no one would probably tell the truth. That's the interesting thing about relationship studies. Oh, this relationship study was done. Was there a lie detector test on it when you asked all the questions? Oh, cheating's been done by this many people. So the cheaters are going to tell the truth in the case study. Possibly, but they are liars, right? That being said, right? You go into someone's DMs, the amount of people I've known over the years that tell me, "Oh, I've known their code for a long time." I would say it's at least half the couples. They don't tell you. They don't tell you that they checked your phone earlier in the day. What they'll do is they'll ask you a question later on. They'll ask a question like, "Oh, what were you doing this afternoon?" If you were DMing someone back and you made lunch with them or something. They try to see if you lie to them. It's very common. Men and women do this. I knew a guy that was extremely good with detective work. And this was like 5 or 6 years ago. And he got into his girlfriend's WhatsApp And I don't know how he did it. And it wasn't just one of those things where he just got the code from looking over her shoulder, which a lot of people do, right? That's what they do. You're in bed, you put your code in, and they just watch. And you think they never knew your code, or you think because you don't check their phone that they don't check your phone. One thing I will tell you, if they check your phone once and they tell you, they've been doing it for a long time. It just got to a point. If they comment on something where you're like, wow, this person's like a psychic, or you're like, wow, how did they know about that? They might be checking your phone. It's very common, and they don't tell you. I've had multiple times, and the guy will tell me. It's usually the guy. No, I shouldn't do this. I know I'm wrong, but I had to check her phone. I've had her code for years. So when she left, I put it in. Now, going back to that guy that I knew, this was, like I said, 5 or 6 years ago. It was less about social media, more about WhatsApp, which is an app that internationally a lot of people use. It's just a texting app. And he got in there on his own phone. I don't know how. And he was tickled. He was like, yeah, I figured it out. He was like really proud of himself. But what he found was that she was talking to her ex-boyfriend, and she was making plans with him, telling him about her new boyfriend who was looking through this stuff. And I asked my buddy, I said, well, why aren't you telling her? Because I just want to see how much more she'll cheat or how much more she'll lie. This is a common question because on the flip side, they were living together, they had a business together, so he couldn't just circle out. So what he was doing is he was building this case. He was finding a replacement for her at his business. He was also um, collecting more information before he made his choice of how he was going to break up. So just telling you this right now, there's a lot of people that have relationships where they think, oh, the partner doesn't have any access to that stuff. They do. They absolutely do in most cases. It's not that difficult. And so once you know that, you can change the code, but just know that they're always going to be looking for another way to get access to that private side of you. But wouldn't it be nice that if you were in a relationship and you had nothing to hide? Wouldn't it be nice if you were in a relationship and could go ahead and check my DMs? That'd be ideal for both of you, right? But then I stumbled upon the messages, the DMs from a stranger whose name I'd never heard before, filled with heart emojis, compliments that made my heart sink. I felt a mix of anger and despair as I scrolled through their exchanges, each one more intimate than the last. And yet, when I confronted her again, she didn't deny it. Instead, she begged for forgiveness, tears staining her cheeks as she pleaded for another chance. It's not what you think, she sobbed, her voice thick with emotion. I made a mistake, but I love you. Please give me another chance. What we don't know is specifically what those DMs said. It does count, right? What did the DM say? Why is she so sorry? What did she do so wrong? Now, what's interesting is when people jump to sorry really quick in a relationship, it's almost like a get out of jail free card. If they're saying sorry for the same thing multiple times within a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, it doesn't really mean shit, right? Actions speak louder than words. Her words tore at my heartstrings, stirring up a whirlwind of conflicting emotions within me. Part of me wanted to walk away to cut ties and never look back. But another part, the part that still loved her despite everything, hesitated, wondering if perhaps we could salvage what was left of our relationship. I mean, how dramatic is this? This is why I said this is what, how are we going to salvage the rest? Okay, so what specifically happened here? You had some DMs come in from some strangers, and now you're going, oh my God, put your foot down. Who's this individual? Who are you talking to? This is going to be a part of a lot of relationships in the future. You're going to have to navigate it. And depending on the age you're in, like I'd say people in their early 20s, I think everyone's going to be on some form of social media. It's going to be an albino in the wild if you meet someone and you go, oh my God, you're not on social media, right? People in their 30s, there's a chance. There's probably 10 or 20% of the population that don't use it that much. People in their 40s, less, and the list goes on. It's a full-on addiction now. How it's being used, unfortunately for a lot of people out there, if you have a catch, if you have someone that you're with that's highly attractive and they're on social media, they're gonna get attention, right? Just how it's gonna be. How they garner that and how honest they are about that is another thing. But I would get back to what's their character as an individual already. You're trying to reshape someone. So if you got someone that's already flirtatious, someone that already likes to get validated, someone that already has 10,000 followers when you started dating them and's on their phone a lot, and then 6 months later you're complaining about their actions on social media, what I miss? You're not filtering very well. You're turning a blind eye, and then when you get down into the relationship and get deeper, your expectations become higher, and you're like, "Well, I just want you to change this, this, and this." L Mind you, we're talking about an addictive behavior. So you should have that conversation early on. Early on. Part of me wanted to walk away to cut ties and never look back, but another part, the part that still loved her despite everything, hesitated, wondering if perhaps we could salvage our relationship. So here I am caught between the past and the uncertain future, grappling with the decision of whether to give her a second chance. On one hand, I fear history repeating itself, of being hurt all over again. But on the other hand, I can't shake the feeling that maybe, just maybe, there's still hope for us. For now, I'm taking things one step at a time, trying to listen to both my head and my heart. And men don't listen to their head and their heart always in relationships. There's another head they listen to. Only time will tell whether forgiveness is truly the path of healing, or if some wounds are simply too deep to mend. How dramatic. How dramatic is that? When the reality is, what's emotional cheating to you? I think it used to be a problem where people work, but like I said, it's a personality, it's a character issue first and foremost. Someone can be extremely active. Okay, let's look at it this way. Someone can be extremely active on Instagram and be extremely loyal. They can have that line, they can have that barrier. And that's probably going to be someone that's more disciplined, someone that's more apt to be in a monogamous relationship, someone that tells the truth. There's people like that. How you do one thing is how you do everything, and how you apply that to Instagram and its use will be applied. If someone's promiscuous, adventurous, if someone has had a lot of partners in the past, well, then Instagram and how they use it's probably going to be problematic. Don't think it's personal. All right, let me get into the chat a little bit here. Brand new Skinner, but for our purposes here, I would simply be observant and not ask questions. I tend to use my intuition. Have a good one. Take care, Catherine. Thanks for your intuition. Intuition's good. It's especially good when you have people that you know well, people you live with. Your intuition is going to be stronger with them. You just don't want to think that your intuition is always right, especially when you want to be right, right? And you believe what you want to believe. So, intuition, when you live with someone, is very strong because subconsciously you're picking up all their actions every day and every moment you're around them. And so, when their actions change, subconsciously you notice that. When you're dealing with people you don't see as much or you don't interact as much with, it's different. It's definitely different. Thanks, Ben W. I always liked a nice sport coat. Back in the day, I used to wear a suit for work, and I like wearing a suit. I like wearing a sport coat, but when you live in Thailand in the tropics for years, you just can't. You'll just sweat yourself to death. Um, but anyhow, we got breakup tips 101. So I've been recently posting some more shorts, which are good. I think a lot of people's attention span is at that level now, myself included sometimes. And these little quick hitters on breakup tips are good. Social media is here to stay. And so you just need to know, me personally, uh, If I was dating a woman that was on her phone a lot at this point, it would be a no-go. Because I just think that it's one of those things, if it's gonna happen in the beginning and you're kinda irritated by it, it's probably gonna get much worse if you were gonna have a long-term relationship. If they don't put their phone away while you're talking, or they're constant you're getting little fragments of their attention, which is common, um, you decide that boundary. You decide that boundary. Any closing questions or comments from the people in the cheap seats? Nope. I think we're good. Any topics you want me to touch on in a future live stream? You know all my worries already. Well, just know whatever your worries are, whatever your issues are that are unique to you, certain people, when we're going back to the emotional cheating thing and specifically Instagram, certain people are going to be more sensitive to this than others. And that's okay. And that's why I said early on that if you go to friends, family, and colleagues and you're like asking for their opinion on emotional cheating, they're just going to tell you what it is to them. So you you want to be aware of that. Well, there's some people out there that are just like, if I find out she's cheating, I'll find out on my own, or I'll find my. They can deal with it. It's really a problem, though. I think now, um, because what's happening is people are monitoring each other passively, with not all the puzzle pieces and not all the knowledge, and making a lot of assumptions. And so what happens is you make an assumption based on an Instagram post or a liking or a comment. I think this happened about 2 years ago. I was working with a client, and she went crazy about her boyfriend had liked some woman he was following that was attractive. She sent me the pictures, like, "This is the woman, this is this is that." Um, and he made a comment, I think. This woman had a big following. I think she would qualify as an influencer of some sort. And she was so upset. The ironic thing is the woman that was complaining had cheated on her boyfriend multiple times. This is one thing, the behind the veil when you're the coach. What I see in you, I see in me. A lot of times when people are making these accusations, they're doing what they're accusing the other person of. So she was really upset. I can't believe he did this. I can't believe he did that. I can't believe he's been contacted. So she told him, he said, "Wow, you're just being insecure." He ended up folding and saying, "Well, all right, well, I don't need to like her posts anymore or anything like that." But this particular woman, they ended up breaking up maybe multiple times. And she was just a handful, highly emotional, highly insecure. At the same time, it's a legitimate thing to be upset that your boyfriend's liking someone else's post and making comments on someone else's post. That's a woman that is attractive. That's a competitive situation that can hurt you. It's recorded is the problem. It's it's not circumstantial. It's like if you had an interaction where you and your girlfriend go to a restaurant, you run into someone else, you notice that your girlfriend sees this guy there and she knows him. She goes, "Oh, we used to work together." And she's like, "Hi." And she's, eyeing him and saying hi. She looks excited to see him. She goes over and says a couple of things. She puts her hand on his elbow. "Hey, it's really good to see you." She comes back over and you're like, "Who's that?" See how different that is than Instagram? So immediately you get some feedback. "Who is that?" "Oh, that was Ron. I used to work with him. He's a good guy." "Really?" Now the suspicious guy might say, "Did you guys used to date or see each other?" That would be a little insecure right off the bat, but it's a direct question. "Oh, no, Ron's married. He's got 2 kids. He would never." "Well, why'd you put your hand on him?" "Because that's how I am. It was good to see him. We actually shared a lot of stuff when we worked together." Now on the flip side, if that was a negative situation, she might say, Yeah, it's wrong. We just worked together. And you're like, did you used to date or did you used to see each other? Well, we went out a couple times. And she smiles. At least you're getting direct feedback, right? That's true. That's from the horse's mouth. When you do Instagram, it's like, do they like this person? And you're dealing with someone they didn't work with, that didn't have in their past, that's just some kind of person that's out there on the internet, inner sphere, that you think they know and have feelings for, but they've never met, they never will meet. It's like a superstar relationship, and you're making all these assumptions and getting your feelings hurt. See how different that is? And that's why Instagram and some of these things can be a minefield in relationships for insecure individuals. If you're an insecure individual, then don't date people that are on Instagram a lot. Just don't, because your mind's going to constantly be in flux. Uh, what's the answer to that? Date someone that's not on Instagram. Date someone that doesn't value it in a high place. Date someone that's more straightforward. I think cheating means you are not good enough or fulfilling your partner, which can mean to yourself that you failed. Um, I mean, that's one perspective. That's you taking responsibility for it, but I don't feel that that's the case. I think it's different in different cases. I think the number one thing that affects cheating is at the base of it, at the core of it, and a lot of people wouldn't see it this way, but this is more than anything else, and you're gonna hear me say this many times, you've heard me say it many times, is the environments that that partner, the girlfriend or boyfriend that you're with is frequenting, meaning their job, meaning their social time, is gonna have other individuals, or in your case, other men, or in my case, other women or other men, right? When I'm talking about clients. So when you have them frequent these places, they're gonna be more apt to cheat based on their opportunities with people that they find attractive. Now, temptation and will and commitment all come into place, but no matter how strong someone is during a diet, if they love chocolate chip cookies, they need to stay away from bakeries and places that have chocolate chip cookies. Now, if someone's, in a great relationship, they're still apt to cheat if they're in a relationship where it allows them to be around other individuals that are in competition. So, if your girlfriend is in an environment that has a lot of other men that she finds attractive, good luck. It's going to be difficult. And they find her attractive, and vice versa. If you're in those environments, I've had it with clients, men and women. It's not just that someone's not fulfilling them. It's the fact that they're in an environment where they're around people that they're highly attracted to, uh, that they become comfortable with, that they become complimentary with, and they start to lose attraction for their partner because they're spending a lot of time. And that's why it always happens at work a lot of times. You're spending more time with other people at your peak hours. Think about it like that. Someone goes to work 9 to 5, they come home, they're burnt out, they're tired, they don't want to hook up, they don't want to get intimate. She's pushing you away, she's saying she's tired. But between 8 and 12, when she's got all her energy, she's talking to John at work. Cheating can be a lifestyle choice, absolutely. It can be a variety of things. And whatever it means to you, like Ben, like that's your interpretation of it for you. That has something to do with the way you feel about yourself. But if you look at it, if like a bartender, right? I've had clients over the years that they've had a boyfriend that's a bartender. They always cheat. They're always more promiscuous. Look at their environment. Um, women. I've recently had a client that his girl that he was dating, his woman that he was dating, was a stripper. Okay. Is it no surprise that after they broke up, she was dating right away? This is no surprise that it seems like she was dating multiple guys while she was with him. Those things, it's not just the job, it's just where they spend their time. That's why I've said before, if you have someone, if you were going to look into cheating, you probably would relate it to the jobs people are in or where they're spending most of their time. It's also cultural, how you believe relationships are supposed to be. But it's been going on since the beginning of time. I would say over 50% of relationships have it at some point. People feel guilty about it. They might not do it again. But some people that you feel like are crystal clean, that would never do that. I've met them. Some of the people that you really would be like, no, they wouldn't. And they're the best at keeping it from people. And I would say by far, women keep cheating from men much better than men do to women. They're much better at keeping those secrets. But it's a reality. And um, I think the answer to it is, which sounds cliche, cheesy, is always being at your best. Because if you're always at your best, you can pivot out of that relationship and feel good. If you're always at your best, those other people that are competing while you're not around, and think about that. Let's say you got a really good looking girlfriend. She's got a lot going for herself. She's gonna get hit on. She's gonna get hit on. If you're in the opposite, if you're a woman, and your husband or your boyfriend's got a lot going for him, he's gonna get hit on. Now, those environments that he's in, job, extracurricular activities, those things are gonna dictate how much temptation he's got to turn down. And some people are dug in, whether that's religion or just their standard of living, or they would never cheat and they could deal with temptation a lot better than others. But look at all these famous people, like anyone that's an actor, musician, a ball player. I mean, top of the food chain with the most options to cheat, right? Have you ever watched an autobiography or a biography by any of these people and they were not? They were completely and utterly um, devout? Usually not. It has to do with temptation. It's not always just their morals and values. And by the way, today we were talking about emotional cheating, which is different, right? All right, folks, this has been good. It's been grand. Getting back on deck, getting back into some more live streams has been good. PW, I always appreciate you, my friend. Rob IS, always guardian at the gate. I noticed that Bitcoin went up, so I'm happy for you. Catherine was off for a little bit. And brand new Skinner. We'll be back on deck soon. Enjoy your day.